The subject of today's video is seen as one of the best linebacker prospects in recruiting history, was a generational talent coming out of Southern California, and was expected by this time in his career to be a top 10 NFL draft pick. Unfortunately, after a superb and insane high school career, the subject of today's video has struggled to get it going in college, and sadly, most of it is not his fault. He'll go from being one of the highest ranked recruits in history to now going to a lower level of football within the conference. Today, we're going to talk about his insane rise, go through what has gone wrong in his college career so far, and why his career isn't over yet and he could make a huge comeback. But before we get started, be sure to leave a like if you want to support today's video, turn on post notifications so you never miss when I upload, let me know what player I should cover next, and don't forget to subscribe if you love college football content. Now, let's go ahead and get started. So you're probably wondering who the subject of today's video is, and it is none other than former Oregon and current Arizona player Justin Flowe. But in order to understand what went wrong for Flowe, we first need to go back in time. The Flowe family always grew up tough and loved the game of football. His dad played running back in high school, and his brother Jonathan eventually went and played safety at Oregon. Justin Flowe Sr. made sure his son grew up in what he called a get up, don't cry, I don't want to hear it philosophy. Justin's football career would get started when his mother showed a picture of him to a local coach in the Snoop Youth Football League. The SFYL was founded by rapper Snoop Dogg in 2005, and it produced NFL players such as DeAnthony Thomas, Cam Jackson, Ronnie Hillman, and Juju Smith-Schuster. Unfortunately, you had to be 7 years old to play in the league, and even though he was only 6, they didn't tell the coach, and after Justin became the best player on the team, the coach didn't really care either. Opposing parents, though, wanted to see proof. His head coach said, quote, "It got to the point you had parents who wanted to see his birth certificate. Nobody could believe it. Some kids are just the ones, and he's just one of those kids." Flowe would earn the nickname Baby Man at 6 years old, as he would become a star in that same league, and he didn't just run around 7 and 8 year olds at the time, he ran over them. He would stiff arm them, and he had the biggest hits on the field as the youngest guy. His youth coach said, quote, "He was just a baby, but he was hitting like a little man. He was laying out a lot of older kids at the time, and it's been pure force and domination ever since." This would continue as Justin would work harder and harder to be the best player on the field, and when he arrived at Upland High School, that didn't change. His high school coach said, quote, "It just wasn't fair. It was tough on the freshman opponents because he was so violent with his collisions." He didn't end up lasting on the freshman team for long, as he would start to make an impact on the scout team, and eventually they started him and he gained recruiting attention. Flowe would make his varsity debut against Damien High School in 2016, and he led the team with 12 tackles and never left the starting lineup after that. He would continue his freshman rampage against St. John Bosco in the playoffs, and in that game, he had a huge moment. He had 19 tackles and made plays all over the field, and it was a performance that made his dad tear up in the stands. His son had come so far, and he was headed to the top. He would start and play well the rest of his career at Upland, but he went from a 4-star recruit to a prodigy over that time. He squatted close to 600 pounds and was building a greatest hits playlist that caught the attention of schools such as Alabama, USC, Ohio State, and all the other powerhouses with strong linebacker traditions, along with every other school. His high school coach said, quote, "He's one of those elite physical guys who can carry 230 pounds and move the way he moves. He's exceptionally strong for his age in the weight room, and then he goes out and he's as fast as he is, whether he's at 4.5 or whatever. Those two things together create extreme explosion." As a senior, Flowe was named the High School Butt Kiss Award winner, and that was a funny day for him at school. He said, quote, "I thought I'd gotten in trouble." He got pulled out of class earlier in the day, only to find his parents, teammates, coaches, and staff all waiting for him there. That award is given to the nation's top high school linebacker, and he registered 135 tackles and 12 sacks while dominating pretty much every game and counteracting everything the offense did. Because of that, he was a national sensation, but he didn't let it get to his head. He said, quote, "I'm just chill with it. I don't let it get to be too much. It's all about how I'm feeling and who I'm feeling." Flowe had a ton of offers, was called a generational linebacker, and was the number 2 recruit in the nation, but where would he go? Although Flowe did take an official visit to Oregon in late November, rumors swirled that he had silently committed to Clemson the summer before, and that he was a lock to choose the Tigers, but that was not the case. He seemingly liked Oregon, was wowed on a visit to Miami, and was also pegged to USC. After it surfaced he wanted to stay close to home. Eventually he put it all to rest. With how high profile he was, he'd be able to have his own signing day special on TV, and chose the Oregon Ducks over Clemson, Miami, and USC. Why Oregon? He said, quote, "Oregon's got a great program and everything. Mario Cristobal is a great guy, and it's the best pick for me personally. I think I'll thrive in their program." Flowe had 42 total offers, and he felt that the Ducks were the best one. He would join fellow 5-star linebacker Noah Sewell there, and this was one of the top signee linebacker duos ever. With how good Flowe was in high school, many were already talking about his pro potential, including his head coach. He said, I've never coached an NFL player, and if Justin is not one, I don't know who is, but I think in maybe 3 or 4 years, Justin will be in the first round. He was that good at the time. According to 24/7 Sports, Flowe was a 5-star recruit, the number 1 linebacker, and the 6th best player in the class of 2020. So, how would he end up doing with the Ducks? When Flowe would arrive at Oregon, there was a lot of hype to his name, and with him being paired with Noah Sewell, everyone was going to be watching this freshman linebacker duo. Except, things would end very early for Justin. This would be the start of a difficult road in college. He suffered a season-ending injury early on against Stanford, and this would change the path for him. After the year was over and he rehabbed, he said, quote, "Last year is really just a year for me to sit back and just focus on what I gotta do to come back, and what happened to me was really humbling. I told myself it's just a bump in the road, and I just gotta keep pushing forward, and that's what I'm doing now." He'd end up rehabbing and got back on the field and was ready to make noise in 2021. That is exactly what he would do, as in their Week 1 matchup at home against Fresno State, Flowe went crazy. Despite the Ducks only winning by 7 points, you could thank Flowe for them winning, as he finished with 14 tackles in that game. All the potential he had coming out of high school was on full display in that Week 1 game, but he ended up getting hurt for the second time, and for the second straight year, his season would be over. He had now not even played in 2 total games in 2 years, and many people would have given up or quit, but that was not what Flowe was going to do, and he rehabbed and got better once again. In 2022, he would come back, and this time he had another good year. In his 3rd career game against Georgia, he finished with 10 tackles and a 49-3 loss. A couple weeks later, he had 7 tackles against Washington State, had 5 in a win over number 9 UCLA, and then for the rest of the season started to have less of a role, as he only finished with 7 combined tackles in his last 5 games. It was a little bit of a disappointing end of the season, but at least Flowe got on the field. He finished with 35 tackles, 21 assisted tackles, and 14 solo tackles. Despite not making that much of an impact in his first 3 years, he did have a couple of accolades to his name. He was the Pac-12 Freshman of the Week in 2021, he had the most tackles by an Oregon freshman in nearly 7 years, and became the first Oregon player since 2007 to have at least 14 tackles and force 1 fumble in the same game. Yeah, unfortunately, Flowe's time in Oregon didn't work out, but I would not say his career is over yet. He decided to enter his name into the transfer portal to get a clean start, and a couple weeks ago, he announced he'd be going down to another Pac-12 program, Arizona. While the Wildcats have not been great the last few years, they've started to show a lot more improvement under head coach Jedd Fisch, and Flowe will have an opportunity to go in and start, and play at a school where he's not going to have as high of expectations, and can have a chance to really dominate. I really like Jedd Fisch and what he's doing down there in Arizona, and I really do think Flowe has a good chance of resurrecting his career there. While many will say he has been a disappointment so far, I would say it's way too early to tell, and he has gotten absolutely screwed over by injuries, so we don't really have much to work off of. And while yes, he hasn't really played at all, I'm not ready to give up on Flowe yet, and that generational talent could still come out. But what do you guys think? If you're an Oregon fan, what went wrong for Justin Flowe? Who's another prodigy / 5-star I could take a look at next? And before you go, don't forget to leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and check out all my other videos on the end screen, including my video about what happened to Sam Heward. Hope to see you guys again soon, but until next time, peace.